Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. We're starting off with a Twitter question. Bill asks, today, is it better to be a Wild fan or a Lightning fan?
I would say a Lightning fan.
Even after being crushed? I mean, Wild fans at least kind of knew what was coming down the pike.
Yeah.
Lightning fans have been absolutely stunned by this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess today it might be better.
That's the question.
Okay. Today then it might be better. I was going to say, but tomorrow and next week... the week after and the month after and the years after. It is. I mean, it's stunning. But I'll tell you, just watching from the second period of game one on, the Columbus Blue Jackets just checked the shit out of that team. Sorry, Brandon. They just checked the heck out of them. And in a lot of ways, it's the same way that the Islanders have done it against the Pittsburgh Penguins, right? I mean, a little different the way that the Islanders played. I mean, the Penguins could not penetrate the middle of the offensive zone, which is what we saw when the Wild played the Islanders twice this season. I mean, if you remember late in the season, Wild lost a game where they played quite well against the Islanders, and I think the Islanders blocked like 25 shots that game. The Wild just could not get shots through, and that's the structure that Barry Trotz brings to that team. And to get back to your question on Columbus, I mean, they just checked the heck out of them, and they are a hardworking team that I think we all forget. We're looking at them as like this little, untalented team that had no right to be on the ice with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, that team even before the trades of adding guys like Duchesne and Zengel and those guys, Josh Anderson, Bjorkstrand, who's from here, by the way, Panarin, these guys have been, here? Yeah. I mean, these guys have been on fire. Bjorkstrand's just been sensational. And that's a guy that I'm telling you could have been had by the Wild and many teams in trades for a long while. And it looked like he was a guy, the prototypical John Tortorella doghouse guy, not the grittiest guy, super skilled, not the biggest guy. So Tortorella usually kind of picks on those guys. Bjorkstrand dealt with it and is now absolutely been unbelievable. Josh Anderson, remember he held out a couple years ago. Unbelievable. And then obviously you get Panarin and Bob playing the way that they are. They're big and strong and well-oiled on their back end. I mean, that team, suddenly you look at them now with the acquisitions that they've made, and they are really good. Now, what did the Tampa Bay Lightning do about this? I would say the first thing they need to do is take a deep breath and then sit down and figure this out. But I don't think that you take a team that won 62 games and 128 points and tear it up over the disappointment of this. It should be an eye-opener that their players should realize that they're not the greatest thing in the history of the world on the ice, and that you can't just go and step your foot on the ice and expect to win in the playoffs against any team. But I don't think that they should break it apart. Now, they've got to sign Braden Point. I think that makes suddenly a couple trades in the offing. If I'm Paul Fenton, I'd probably give Julian Brisebois a couple days. But if I'm Paul Fenton, tomorrow, the next day, I call about Tyler Johnson and start planting that seed right now, because he's a right shot, hardworking, very skilled winger that the Wild, by the way, had a chance of signing years ago and just circumstance. It's just unfortunate that the Wild never got that done, and I don't blame him for it. I mean, the story there, if you remember, is that they brought him into camp and they loved him with Spurgeon as junior teammate, and then they bring him back for Traverse City, and I think it was like his first shift of the first game in Traverse City, he tears up his shoulder. So the Wild, at the end of that camp, they sign Spurgeon, but say to Tyler Johnson, who understandably, I mean, he's got a shoulder injury, hey, go back to junior, have a big year, and we'll revisit this next summer. Well, what happens? He goes back to junior, gets like 100 and something points, and now all of a sudden, this little skilled guy that only the Wild seem to know about has Detroit, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Minnesota come calling, and he signs with Yzerman. And what's really, again, coincidental about that is, remember, Yzerman almost was the Wild GM. He had a chance to be it. He was offered the job before Chuck Fletcher. So I know we've gone off to a totally different
That's the way the show works. I say hello. Michael talks for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I will introduce the show. This is the Russo-Souhan Show, part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. This show continues to gain in popularity, huge listener numbers. Thanks to all of our listeners, and thanks to Michael.
We're the most popular thing in town. We've been doing this. We're at like 200 episodes
But now we're like, hey, let's use the sports league today. Now we're 110%.
Okay, cool.
We're winning at 100%.
Yeah, I work hard on this.
He's Michael Russo from The Athletic. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune. Thanks to our sponsors, Twill and the Edina Galleria, Fixology Repair, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent from Champlin, and Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. You know what? Let's go ahead and thank Twill right away. They've been sponsoring this program for a long time and the network for a long time.
I like that shirt you're wearing.
This is not a...
Okay.
Dang it. This is not a Twill shirt.
Okay.
This is a casual shirt that I'm just going to wear,
Well, you're going to San Diego today.
I'm going to San Diego, but I did pack like 8 Twill shirts for my trip. So there's Stenstrom shirts I wore at the Final Four, the Peter Millar and Johnny O shirts I've been wearing, hitting golf balls. So you can go really nice, you can go really casual, and still nice. Twill in the Edina Galleria.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
So back to my rant.
Now that you're, please
so back
go.
to what Julian Breeze. I wouldn't overreact to this. Now, on the other hand, Pittsburgh, I think, will overreact to this. First of all, Jim Rutherford, he's 70-something years old. I believe he's 70-something years old. God, I hope he is. Let me look this up now.
Younger than Sid.
He's never been the most patient man, and I think he's going to look at this and say, all right, after grinding all season long to get in the playoffs and then to not even make a whimper, and you know what the other thing is to me that was interesting about let's see, Jim is, hang on. 70. Okay, now I don't feel so bad.
You are on.
Yep. He's got like a little 8-year-old son too. I met him earlier this season.
God bless him.
He's such a great guy. I knew his parents down in Florida. So I've been tight with him for a long time. But he's not a patient guy, and I think after grinding all year long to even make the playoffs, I think this is a totally different thing than what's going on with Tampa. Tampa's window is still wide open. Where Pittsburgh, he might look at it and say it's closing. They did not have a good season. Then they get in the playoffs and don't even make a whimper, and it's almost, to me, an alarm bell that it looked like this team that is well-versed on what it takes to go 4 playoff rounds every single spring and summer, didn't have it in them to put forth the battle and the compete and the effort and the energy to go and they look like they didn't want to be on the same ice at different times because it was so hard to play that way. And that, to me, is a big-time concern for that team. And this is after he made a big trade to add Bukestad, and you got those guys. So what's next? Well, I think Phil Kessel's probably on his way out. And right away, I know Wild fans who are like, well, we need a right shot right wing. I'd still be careful. $8 million a year, he's getting up there. Yes, he's the type of guy that's going to win you some hockey games with one shot. I still to me, I would investigate before I go the Kessel route. Especially because of the money, I would try to take advantage of some of these cap-strapped teams like Tampa Bay and Toronto and see if you can make a home run type deal for young guys like Johnson or Kapanen or Nylander. Although Nylander to me still is a concern. And then the other thing is I do think he's going to look at Malkin. Malkin didn't look like he had it this whole tournament. 4-game little playoff spurt, and I don't know if he was dealing with an injury or what, but it just didn't look like the same dominant player that to me in the past. So I think that Pittsburgh's a team I could see Jim Rutherford, who's done it in the past, him pull some blockbusters. Where Tampa, I think they need to take a breath. They're going to have to make some trades if they're going to get Braden Point signed. But I don't think that this is like tear it up type thing. Remember, they were a lot of injuries. Hedman was not himself, and then eventually couldn't even play. But very shocking outcome for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Is Kessel right now about the same as Vanek when he played for the Wild, or is he better?
No, I think he's different. First of all, Kessel can still skate.
Yeah.
And there's the thing with Kessel that's interesting is that the opposite of Vanek is sometimes Vanek gets accused of kind of not caring just because of the way he skates on the ice and things like that, where I don't think that's factual. I think that he cares. Where Kessel gets easily frustrated because he wants to win so badly. And, Kessel's always been kind of that turbulent figure because I think that he's the type of guy that doesn't give a crap what the media and fans think of him. He's just about winning and his teammates and things like that. I think he's probably a very misunderstood guy because of his outward appearance when dealing with the media. And that's just the way he is. I think I've told this story before. I remember going in the 2006 Stanley Cup Final. I was covering Carolina Edmonton for the Star Tribune, and I was up in Edmonton, and they introduced guys like Kessel and Eric Johnson, and I was doing a big story on them for the Strib at the time because they were going to be top picks in that upcoming draft, and obviously Johnson went number 1, and so I interviewed Kessel. And it was the most uncomfortable, 5 minutes one-on-one of my life. I was sweating at the end of it. And I'm an experienced journalist at this point still. I'd been 15 years in the business, 10 covering the NHL, but he makes you... It was like I couldn't get anything out of him, and it was like, holy mackerel. I just talked to Mark Wallman. He was expecting this Phil Kessel takeout, and thank God I think I got his dad on the phone and it at least turned into a story. But and I remember talking to Johnson's dad for that story too, and Johnson's parents are awesome, Eric Johnson's parents. So they kind of wrote the story. I think I just kind of focused more on Johnson, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it was just, he's just that way. But I don't I don't think he's a jerk. I don't know if he's shy or what it is. But I think that his outward appearance when dealing with the public has created this fallacy that he's just malcontent cancer, and I don't think that's the case.
Interesting. Hey, let's thank Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com, third floor of the Mall of America, downtown by what will soon not be called the Wells Fargo Center, but it's right across from the Dunn Brothers in the Crown Bank building. Check them out. Watches, listen to the ad. They can do a lot of cool stuff for you, including fix your watches and your devices.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
All right, you got another subject? You want to get to on the playoffs?
No, I mean, the playoffs have been awesome so far. This Boston-Toronto series has been hardcore, fun to watch, nasty. Same thing with Vegas-San Jose. I mean, this Vegas is up 3-1 in the series. It's going exactly the way I thought it would. The Vegas team is great. They are going to be in the Western Conference Final, I think. They have a second line, even though it's really their first line. They have a second line with Pacioretty, Stastny, and Stone. I mean, this is a second-year franchise. It's just crazy what they've been able to build there because of the rules and for that expansion and the money that they had. I mean, these are all acquisitions. They weren't expansion draft pickups, but it's just amazing to watch, and they're so good, and it's been nasty. And Evander Kane's losing his mind. Ryan Reeves having a field day, getting in that kid's head. Not kid anymore, but and they're struggling, and they're getting horrendous goaltending. Like Martin Jones, who had an .896 save percentage in the regular season, has a now goals against average of 680 in this series. and a save percentage in the low 8s. He's been terrible, and this was my fear going into it. Somebody tweeted me or